Cast out during a raging 1875 dust storm, Genevieve Willis stumbles into an old barn, desperate for shelter, and finds Zachariah Jones, a rugged cowboy with a guarded past. Forced together by the storm, they forge an unexpected connection that follows them onto the open plains and into the heart of Patterson Ranch. As Genevieve rebuilds her shattered life and Zach confronts his own buried wounds, their growing bond becomes a refuge stronger than any shelter. But when her past returns to reclaim her, both must choose between fear and the future they've quietly begun to dream of, together. In the spring of 1875, when the Nebraska plains were still waking from winter's grip, a dust storm rose without warning, an angry, swirling wall of grit that blotted out the sun. Genevieve Willis had been traveling with a small wagon party, but harsh words, old grudges, and a misunderstanding with her step-uncle ended with her being cast out miles from the nearest town. With only a threadbare shawl and a satchel holding her mother's Bible, she stumbled away as the storm roared toward her like a living beast. The wind clawed at her clothes, sand stinging her skin with every step. She could barely see her own hands, the world shrinking to a blur of brown and gold. Her lungs burned, her eyes watered, and she whispered a prayer with every breath. Just when she began to fear she would collapse on the open prairie, she saw the faint outline of a barn, tilted, worn, and leaning like an old traveler too tired to stand straight. But it was shelter. She pushed the heavy door open and slipped inside. The storm's howl softened to a muffled roar, and the air smelled of hay, wood, and horses. A lantern flickered in the corner, revealing a tall man repairing a bridle strap. Startled, he rose from his seat, his broad shoulders blocking the lantern light for an instant. "You're either brave," he said, "or near dead to be wandering out there." Genevieve clutched her shawl. "Just looking for shelter, sir. I'll leave as soon as the storm passes." The man softened. "A storm like that? Nobody leaves till it's done." He extended a hand. "Name's Zachariah Jones. Folks call me Zach." She hesitated, then shook his hand. "Genevieve Willis." He offered her water and a place to sit near the lantern's warmth. As the storm thundered around the barn, she told him only pieces of her story, her mother's death, the strained family she traveled with, and the heated dispute that led to her being stranded. Zach didn't press for details, though his steady gaze told her he understood more than she spoke aloud. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the world washed in silence. Zach hitched his horse and offered her a ride to the nearest settlement, Patterson Ranch, one of the largest in the county. She accepted, unsure of what waited for her, but certain she had nowhere else to go. The trail ride took hours, long enough for the two of them to fall into easy conversation. Zach spoke of working cattle drives, of losing his brother to the winter fever last year, of the way he'd taken over small ranch duties in exchange for lodgings at Patterson Ranch. Genevieve shared her dream of teaching children, of creating a life not dictated by someone else's rules. When they arrived, the ranch foreman, old Harrison Patterson, took one look at Genevieve's weary face and declared she would stay in the bunkhouse kitchen until she found her footing. Days turned into weeks. Genevieve helped in the kitchen, mended clothes, and eventually taught letters and numbers to the ranch's younger hands. And Zach? He was never far. They shared sunset walks along the fence line, soft laughter over evening chores, and long conversations beneath the cottonwood tree where wildflowers grew. He admired her courage, she admired the quiet strength behind his rough exterior. Slowly, gently, something deeper began to take root. But the past has a way of finding you. One day the wagon party returned, demanding she leave with them. Genevieve trembled, afraid history would repeat itself. But Zach stepped forward, shoulders squared, voice firm. "She's not alone anymore," he said. "And she stays where she's wanted." For the first time, Genevieve felt protected, not controlled, but cherished. The wagon party left without her, and the ranch hands celebrated that night with music and laughter. A month later, beneath the cottonwoods, Zach took her hand and whispered, "Life's given us both a hard road. Maybe it's time we walk the rest together." She nodded, eyes bright with tears and hope. And so, on the vast open land of Patterson Ranch, two souls scarred by hardship found not only shelter from storms, but a future built on tenderness, trust, and a love as steady as the prairie horizon.